Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the January 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Fond du Lac City Council. The first item of business is roll call, which is done electronically, and I will declare a quorum present with Mr. Godfrey absent. The next item on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, which is followed by a moment of silent reflection. Please rise. Next on our agenda is a proclamation in recognition of crossing guards. I hope I have some folks that are here to represent the crossing guards that can come on down and join me in the front. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Some photos first. All right, and I'm going to read the proclamation. Whereas the adult school crossing guards of Fond du Lac provide invaluable support to the Fond du Lac Police Department in promoting community safety by ensuring the safe passage of our youngest and most vulnerable pedestrians, children walking between home and school. And whereas adult school crossing guards demonstrate exceptional responsibility and dedication, enduring harsh weather, split shifts, and heavy traffic to safeguard our children. And whereas these crossing guards play a crucial role in educating our children about traffic hazards and teaching them the importance of safe street crossing behaviors. And whereas the City of Fond du Lac employs adult school crossing guards at 8 key intersections, assisting thousands of students in grades 4K through 8 each day that school is in session. And whereas the week of January 20th through 24, 2025, has been designated as Crossing Guard Appreciation Week in Wisconsin, a time to recognize and honor the contributions of these dedicated individuals who play a critical role in ensuring the safety of our children. Now, therefore, I, Tiffany Brault, President of the Fond du Lac City Council, on behalf of the City of Fond du Lac and its residents, extend our heartfelt gratitude and sincere appreciation to our school crossing guards for their unwavering commitment to the safety and well-being of our children. And would you like to say a few words on behalf of the crossing guards? Would any of you like to speak about?
More
I know the chief has a speech all prepared.
Well. Yeah, we would be here a very long time, and it's snowing out there. All right, well, thank you so much to all of you for the work that you do for our children. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is public hearings, and we have none, so we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda finalizes the proposed actions for the meeting: A, January 8th, 2025 minutes, and B, list of claims dated January 15th, 2025. Are there any questions or discussion? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Schussler and second by Mr. Mullen. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Next on our agenda is audience comments, agenda and non-agenda items. The presiding officer will limit speaking time for non-agenda items to 1 minute and items noticed on the agenda to 5 minutes. Ms. Hefter, do we have anyone wishing to speak? We have one. We do have one. We have Ms. Laura DeGallier, who wishes to speak on the non-agenda item of Greenway Arboretum volunteers.
Thank you. Yes, once a year, I like to make sure I take time to thank all those people who come out and work in the Greenway, including some of them in this kind of weather, although we weren't out there today. The volunteers that I would like to recognize, they were the ones who worked with me in 2024, Jay Gross, Scott, Joe Ditter, Eric Ditter, Peter Grimm, the Fond du Lac High School honor students, Jerry Engel, Pat Flood, Jim Dunphy, and his dog Sydney, although Sydney usually doesn't come when he works, and Steve Kinzinger. Those are the crew that worked with me last year, and we're extremely grateful because we would not be able to do what we do out there if they weren't all there to help. So thanks very much to all of them. But I don't know if they're going to hear this tonight, but all of you should know that those are the people who have made the Greenway what it is today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that concludes our audience comments. So we will move on to our action items. Action item A is resolution number 9161, a resolution making appointments to the Advisory Park Board and Alcohol License Committee. And our introduction is by our city manager, Mr. Moore.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. We have two recommended appointments tonight. One is for Mr. Weiss. He is in charge of the teen program at the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm nominating him for the Advisory Park Board. And then Ms. Strong Langhoff, I'm nominating her for the ALC. She is the Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Moore? Just one question. Were these vacancies, or are they replacing folks who've termed out on those boards?
They're midterm replacements. Sometimes life happens and people need to make a change in their schedule, so these are plugging in two holes.
Okay, well, thank you so much. You're welcome. Not seeing any other questions, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullins, second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item B is resolution number 9162, a resolution waiving the prohibition against possession of alcoholic beverages on specified public ways for the Sturgeon Spectacular Festival, February 7th, 2025 to February 9th, 2025. And our introduction is by our city clerk, Ms. Hefter.
Thank you, President Brauld. The Alamo Sadov Center for the Arts is requesting the city to waive the possession of alcoholic beverages on Sheboygan Street from Mars Street to Portland Street for Sturgeon Spectacular annual event on February 7th through February 9th. No glass containers or carry-ins are permitted in the designated area, and city staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Hefter? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Zimmerman and second by Ms. Leering. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item C is resolution number 9163, consideration of an initial resolution regarding taxable industrial development revenue bond financing for 1125 East Johnson LLC and N6663 Rolling Meadows LLC project. Information with respect to the job impact of the project will be available at the time of consideration of the initial resolution. Our introduction is by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. The City of Fond du Lac has very few tools that we can use to facilitate economic development. We have tax increment financing, we can apply for grants and other programs through the state and federal level, and we can also use our direct budget, whether it's our operational or our CIP. But that's really what we're limited to. And as you all know, as we brought projects forward, there aren't too many that we have the ability to even use those funds for. There is a very small sliver of projects that qualify for another type of economic development support, and that's the industrial revenue bond. The project has to be of such magnitude, and it also has to meet very specific statutory requirements. It has to comply with our comprehensive plan, permitted use. The type of eligible expenditures is very limited. And so in this regard, this project, which is the 1125 East Johnson Street, or we affectionately know as the Johnson Crossing or Festival Foods Plaza, is a project in question here in the city. And so the industrial revenue bond is really a pass-through financing mechanism for a developer to facilitate costs. In this regard, they're refinancing the substantial costs for bringing freighter over to the Johnson Crossing. So that's been a great amenity for the city. That's resulted in 37 jobs at that location. For the town location, they have 3 jobs at their retail location. And so this is really a very unique opportunity for the city. There is absolutely no liability whatsoever for the city. How do I know that? Boston Legal, the practice, LA Law. That's how many attorneys have reviewed the document's initial resolution. On top of that, not only are they attorneys, but they specialize in finance. So you can imagine if you combine Mrs. Panikopoulos with Mrs. Davy. I saw that face. It's daunting. It's unnerving. But that's the kind of expertise. I say that not to be flippant, but to emphasize the level of review that went into these documents. Not only initial resolution, but all the subsequent documents that will ensure that us as a special issuer absolutely have no liability whatsoever. That falls entirely on the borrower. We merely, in this very special circumstances, act as the issuer, but all of the liability actually goes through to the borrower. And it comes through us because we can provide special interest rates that the lender can then acknowledge. And again, a very unique, we don't do very many of these. And so there's actually a very specific statutory process. Tonight you'll be doing the initial resolution. After that, there's actually a notice that goes into the paper where the public is given an opportunity, if they have concerns, that they can actually seek for a referendum. That doesn't usually happen, but that notice is a given. And then you'll be seeing this again as a final resolution before you make your final determination. But again, I want to emphasize, this is a unique and very specialized economic development tool to help facilitate a really important project that happened here in our community. We were able to bring Freighter over to the east side of the city, and also it should be noteworthy that Johnson Crossing also did bring Starbucks to the east side of the city. So, that might even be more important than Freighter for some. And so this is an opportunity where there's no liability for us, that we can help a very good steward of the community refinance some of that debt that brought in amenity and jobs to our community. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Benson? Mr. Heisler?
Thank you, Ms. Benson. Just one question. Timetable-wise, after tonight, what does the rest of that timetable look like?
So the initial resolution is tonight. The notice provides for a 30-day opportunity. And so between the initial resolution and the final resolution, the borrower and all those attorneys will be negotiating all the documents, the final interest rates, working with the lender. So I would anticipate that you'll see the final resolution again in February sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Leering?
I just want to thank you for clarifying all of that and for clarifying yesterday also when we talked. I think that the fact that it's zero liability should help people feel more comfortable about it. And then I would just have one more question. This allows them to borrow at a lower rate too, right?
Yes, so that's what makes it favorable, is that because of we're being essentially the issuer, is that it provides a better rate for the applicant or borrower.
Thank you. Mr. Mullen?
I too just want to say thank you, and just to reiterate for the public that there is absolutely no liability on this for us at all.
Zero.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Heisler and second by Mr. Mullen. Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Benson. Next is resolution number 9164, a resolution to approve the update to the city's policy for public deposit and investments, with our introduction by our Director of Administration, Ms. Davy.
Thank you. As you know, we periodically review our policies to make sure that they are in compliance with various regulations. And our investment advisor recommended making some changes to our policy to bring it into compliance and to give us a little more flexibility as we manage our investment portfolio. So there was a red line version of the changes that were included with the agenda, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have on those changes.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Davy? Seeing none, I will entertain a oh, wait, Mr. Mullen? Yes.
So the main change really, as I went through the document, is basically we can park money in a money market account.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen. And second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Item E is ordinance number 3806, an ordinance amending the City of Fond du Lac 2040 Comprehensive Plan with our introduction by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson. Oh, sorry, caught her with her mouth full.
Sorry, just chewing on a minute, my apologies. Thank you, Ms. Brault. So as you'll recall, the city adopted a comprehensive plan in January of 2021. It's our 2040 comprehensive plan, and it looks out for 20 years. From time to time, as new projects come forward, as we evaluate the plan on an ongoing basis, we realize that there are going to be opportunities and appropriate times to amend the comprehensive plan. In this particular situation, we're looking at changing the comprehensive plan for the area over at Eastgate Place, which is just south of Division Street. The parcels in question are currently zoned residential, and we're looking for a change to institutional. And again, this is land use. So land use, again, covers the underlying future proposed use of the property. And so the property in question was residential homes, but SSM is looking to expand the cancer center. They cannot expand to the west and they can't expand to the south due to the limitations of the navigable waterway and some floodplain issues. So they really do only have the ability to do to the east. In order to do that and facilitate the project, the comprehensive plan needs to amend it to allow for an institutional land use. So staff and Plan Commission recommend approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Benson? Mr. Mullen? Yep.
Thank you. I believe that involves 3 houses?
Yeah, there are 4 lots and 3 houses remain on those 4 lots, yes.
Okay. Does SSM own those
They do,
already? Okay.
yes.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Ms. Benson? I'll just add the question. So changing the comprehensive plan, it would be, or there's already institutional use in that area, and it would be properties that are bordering
Yes.
current SSM property?
That is correct.
Thank you. All right, well, seeing no other questions, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Zimmerman. And second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes with 5 ayes and Mr. Schussler abstaining.
Chairman of the SSM House, St. Agnes Community Council.
Thank you. I appreciate your discretion on that. We'll move on to item F, ordinance number 3807, an ordinance rezoning 14 Eastgate Place, 20 Eastgate Place, 28 Eastgate Place, and 36 Eastgate Place from R1 Single Family Residential District to O Office Conversion District. Initiator SSM Health. Again, our introduction is by our Community Development Director, Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Ms. Brault. So the city recently amended our comprehensive plan, and so we have a institutional land use, and our current zoning is R1 residential, and so as you're aware, our zoning must be in consistency with the comprehensive plan. And so the proposed rezoning from R1 residential to O office district would make us back into compliance with our amended comprehensive plan. So now, keep in mind, zoning is a regulation mechanism for controlling the underlying land use. We do not have an institutional zoning district. So in this regards, O Office District allows for a multitude of institutional uses, including hospitals and medical clinics. So the O Office Conversion District is an appropriate zoning designation for the recently changed land use designation of institutional. So for this, both the staff and Plan Commission recommend approval of the rezoning request.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Benson? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Mullen and second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes with 5 ayes, and again, Mr. Schussler abstaining. Next, we have item G, ordinance number 3791, an ordinance correcting ordinance 3791, amending Chapter 400, intoxicating liquors and fermented malt beverages of the Code of the City of Fond du Lac. And our introduction is by our Deputy City Attorney, Ms. Panagopoulos.
Thank you. So this is a revised version of ordinance number 3791, which this council did hear and enact in July of 2024. After the meeting, when we were working through our codification process with our vendor, we noticed a numbering error that Ms. Hoffman sets forth in her memo that's attached to the agenda. We're just looking for City Council to approve the numbering error so that the ordinance makes sense. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Panagopoulos? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Schussler and second by Mr. Heisler. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. That ends our action items, and we do not have any input items on the agenda, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion by Mr. Zimmerman, second by Mr. Heisler. This is not debatable. Please proceed to vote. And that passes unanimously. We are adjourned.